People don't come back from car crashes like that, you know? They're usually left with injuries that never go away.
"14 months after Spence's life and career were nearly derailed, he made his return to the ring. In December of 2020, in front of a hometown crowd in Texas, Spence faced off with former two-division champion, Danny Swift Garcia.
Errol Spence could have come back to fight a lesser-name opponent to maybe get a comeback fight after this car crash. No, he wanted a top fighter in the welterweight division.
I didn't want a tune-up fighter, somebody I knew I could beat up. I wanted somebody I know that I had to be 100% focused, had to train hard, and that was gonna.
Let's talk about Errol Spence. My God, I am tired of hearing about the accident. I wonder if he is too. Several years ago, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So, and I was also in a coma. So for me to keep hearing about that experience or even talking about it, even now I cringe. So I wonder if he kind of feels the same way. Well, anyway, we are now less than 2 weeks away from Manny Pacquiao, WBA champion in recess. The WBA pisses me off. They make me so fucking sick. You want to know my theory? My theory is clear. I feel that Manny Pacquiao was going to fight Terrence Crawford. If not Terrence Crawford, which I had my doubts, Mikey Garcia on the zone or outside of the PBC platform. So they prematurely, now in hindsight, elevated Manny Pacquiao, because it is somewhat of an elevation depending, to champion in recess, and made Yordenis Ugás, who's on undercard, by the way, which we're going to talk about later, the actual WBA super champion. So basically, to put it into perspective, let's go look at my website, fightview360.com. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe. We are up late. This is uncharacteristically late for me for a Monday. 11 p.m. here on FS1. And you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's end the episode first, because this is the very end of the episode, and then we're going to recap the episode. Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence, PBC Countdown. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe, and we're going to go from there.
The truth, Errol Spence Jr.
You know, how could you not be impressed with what Errol Spence did against Danny Garcia? He comes back from a horrific car accident against a former welterweight and junior welterweight champion and beats him pretty easily.
It was a performance that showed the world that this man just came back from something that he wasn't supposed to come back from, and just beat a fighter who was a champion.
This was a comeback fight for me, where I'll definitely be 120% come my next fight.
Another great defining moment for Errol Spence. Another stamp to tell the world, I am one of the best fighters in the world.
The win over Manny Pacquiao is a legacy win. It solidifies Errol as a possible Hall of Famer.
I feel I have the best fighter right now, and I'm going to have the best game plan, that's for damn sure. He'll be there to win.
I'm still here in boxing. I'm not done yet.
Once you get in the ring, all the respect goes out the window. Once that bell rings, it's a young line on the old line. And I'm finna take his kingdom.
And that's how those episodes go. PBC Countdown. What it is an hour-long build-up show. What they do is they mix and mash content from the press conference, PBC Fight Camp episode 1, and then you have what should be known as well-known boxing media members, anyone who works in boxing, you know, like, for example, Key Fighting from Boxing Scene, Baron, Lord knows, Karan Bhatia, messed his name up. He interviewed the Glam Squad, the people who made Deontay Wilder's laser of Black History suit. Who else you have on there? Kate Abdo, AK and Barack from the Zone Boxing Show, Dougie Fisher from Ring Magazine, and basically it's a build-up show. We're going to show you some clips here. We're going to be talking for the next 25 minutes or so. Let me tell you the particulars. We don't know exactly how much the pay-per-view is yet. In fact, let me take a jump cut. Let me see if it's on my cable yet, and I'm going to tell you right now. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be $74.99 for high definition, but let's see if they try to sneak in a $79.99 on us. I'll be right back. Jump cut for me. Yep, they did it. It's $80. Let me see if I can show you guys on my, damn, they're going to make me pair my remote. Let me see if I can show you guys now. Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence. Damn, they're going to make me pair my remote. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be $79.99 on pay-per-view. The undercard is going to feature Yordenis Ugás defending his WBA Super World 147-pound title. And it's the only belt I recognize as a WBA Super regarding the WBA. No more recognizing of the WBA World, WBA Interim, WBA Gold, and whatever ever got doggone WBA belts they're going to come up with. You're also going to have a blast from the past in a fight that I'm really, really excited about. Robert Guerrero versus Víctor Ortiz. That's going to be some crazy ass shit. Both fighters coming off of a 2 and a 2+ year layoff, fighting in dark matches and shit. Robert Guerrero was. I don't even remember the last time Víctor Ortiz fought. And then who else is going to open the card? Let me tell you right now. Mark Magsayo versus Julio Ceja. I went to look at the tickets last week in the video, and the tickets just to get in the building right now are about $750. To get in like the middle section, $1,500. Ringside, what's left is about $5,000 or so. But let me see if I want you to see this pay-per-view price. I'm gonna pull it up here for you in a minute. One more jump cut, and then we're gonna start looking at some clips of the episode and talk about why I'm picking Errol Spence to win. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Also, follow me on Twitter at TstreeT. It's right there below in the description box, and boom, I remember where to point at it too, right there. And I'm back on Instagram. I'm actually working to get all my social media in a more cohesive, streamlined, so I'm actually active back on social media. And to be honest, I'm kind of enjoying it. I almost like really gave up on Twitter, but I'm happy to be back. Anyway, jump cut. We'll be right back. Please subscribe. Yeah, there you go, fellas. They done snuck that. They done snuck that in on us. You see it? $79.99. But to be, I don't really complain about pay-per-view prices anymore because I purchased some low down shit. I swore, I used to purchase individual Chris Algieri pay-per-views with Zab Judah and the Hebrew Hammer. So, don't count me. But as far as the PBC Countdown episode, I am going to rate it as 7 out of 10. Now, for us, the hardcores, you already know these guys that I just, mentioned. Like, they're just telling you stuff that you already know. And what they do is they recap the fighters, Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao's, recent fights, meaning last 3 or 4. And then, of course, for Manny Pacquiao, they had to mention Floyd Mayweather and tried to find every single way to try to make it seem like Manny Pacquiao actually did something outside of that one left hand. In fact, I'm going to show you that clip right now because I was looking like they really trying to make like Manny Pacquiao did something, but I get why they did it. Yeah, let's go look at that clip right now.
Can't miss. This was a global event to see Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather finally get it on inside of a ring.
It was such a big fight, and it needed to happen, and there's big dollars also, and everyone was really excited about the fight.
Going into the fight, I was excited, happy to fight with him.
You got 2 guys who were on the pound-for-pound list. There was probably only one man that could make Manny Pacquiao the B-side, and that was Floyd Mayweather.
The anticipation before a big boxing match is electric.
Time or get away from the jab of Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather is a great fighter, and he waits and he's patient and he figures you out, makes you miss, makes you get tired, makes you get frustrated, and then he starts stabbing you.
We get to round 4. Manny Pacquiao lands his signature left hand.
Manny was able to get Floyd up against the ropes and unleash maybe a 8 to 10 punch combination.
If you watch Floyd Mayweather's fights, very rarely has he ever gotten stunned.
I don't know how many of those actually landed on Mayweather, but it was Manny Pacquiao's best moment early on in the fight.
If we know anything about Manny Pacquiao, he's off.
Manny Pacquiao clearly lost that fight. There's no better way to put it. In fact, while we're here, let's go look at the resume. And that was pretty much a good example of how the episode goes. They go and look at the past fights of the fighters, and then different media members or people who work in boxing in some capacity, you know, give their thoughts. So, Manny Pacquiao, 62-7-2 with 39 KOs. How old is Manny Pacquiao? 42 or 43? I believe he's 42. And he'll be 43 in December, correct? Errol Spence for the WBC and IBF titles. I'm wondering, are we going to get some type of late announcement that the Ring Magazine title is going to be on the line? Because as it stands right now, there is no Ring Magazine champion at 147 pounds. I think that this is a fitting match for it to be a Ring Magazine championship, don't you? Last fight against Keith Thurman, that was actually over 2 years ago now. By the time Manny Pacquiao steps in the ring, he'll be on a 25-month layoff. That's crazy. Split decision. I think Manny Pacquiao cleanly won that fight. You know, no controversy. Was not an easy fight at all. And I believe going into that fight that, you know, I had the feeling that Manny Pacquiao was going to win, but I wasn't confident. And then, of course, Adrian Broner. They're going to recap that fight. Also in the episode, if you want to see it. Really, there's not really much to talk about with that fight. Adrian Broner didn't do nothing. And Manny Pacquiao just teed off on him after Adrian Broner talked all that shit. Also, Adrian Broner is still having problems staying active and keeping his personal life together after getting a fight that a lot of people felt that he shouldn't have got with the Manny Pacquiao. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, the Lucas Matisse was like a closed circuit type of pay-per-view deal. I forgot how I watched this. Was it on ESPN Plus or did I pay for this through like a website? I forgot. But anyway, that was a fight where a lot of people felt like, oh, you know, Manny Pacquiao, you know, he might, you know, have some issues with Matisse. Nope, completely dominated. And then before that, it's still very controversial. But going back to look, yo, I have a hard time seeing Manny Pacquiao, you know, didn't lose to Jeff Horn. Manny Pacquiao didn't take Jeff Horn seriously, and Manny Pacquiao, you know, was getting mauled. Now, I understand it's unpopular opinion, but remember, in society, we're not always supposed to agree. You know, so I know y'all probably cussing at the screen and saying this guy, oh, he's probably just saying this because Jeff Horn is black. But no, that's not the case. It's like, yo, listen, I'm going to go back and watch the fight again. But, you know, from what I remember, I don't remember, like, really feeling after I rewatched that Jeff Horn won that fight. But whatever. Hey, moving on. Now, Jesse Vargas, that was a top-ranked in-house fight. You know, I don't know what was going on with that 114-113 card right there, but yeah, that was crazy ass shit from Dave Moretti, no less. And then, you know, he had the closeout fight with Timothy Bradley, the one that nobody was really looking forward to, because many felt, including myself, that Manny Pacquiao had won the first fight, and he clearly won the second fight. And then the third fight, it was like, oh, okay, all right, fill out your top ring contract, Manny. And then Floyd Mayweather, and well, we know what Floyd Mayweather's doing. Let's go talk about Errol Spence to close out the video.
Win or lose, this is an incredible decision for Manny Pacquiao to step in the ring with the scariest guy in the welterweight division.
Errol Spence Jr., they call him the truth. The truth hurts!
Errol Spence is the closest thing to a complete fighter that there is in boxing today.
It is all Errol Spence Jr.
He's the only guy with 2 belts. He's the unified champ.
Is this the ascension of a future pound-for-pound king?
It means a lot to finally get this fight. I'm facing a legend. I just know I have the skills and the talent to beat Manny Pacquiao.
Just a few weeks after Errol Spence was on Cloud 9, his life came crashing down, involved in a very, very scary car.
Okay, we're going to cut that right there. I don't want to hear no more about the car crash. So, let's be critical here. Now, I am not going to make any excuses about Manny Pacquiao's age or anything like that. I mean, unfortunately, you know, I am going to have to talk about it. But I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you know, Manny Pacquiao was too old if this was motherfucking 2001 or some old bullshit like that. I'm not going to do it. 27-0 with 21 KOs. I've been covering Errol Spence on YouTube since, my God. When was it? He was on Golden Boy on Fox Sports 1. It was a long-ass time ago. It's one of these fights. It may have been Ronald Cruz. And who was the dude that really had buzzed him and made him go like, ah, like in the ring? Remember that shit? One of these FS1 fights. Well, anyway, Samuel Vargas, who just recently, I believe it was his last fight for Conor Ben, up-and-coming 147-pounder, so still in the mix. Phil Greco was a solid name at the time. Chris Van Herden was a solid name at the time. Alejandro Barrera, no. Chris Algieri, I was at this fight. Put a boot in his ass. Chris Algieri just fought last week on Fight.tv on the Locked vs. Dipset undercard. Leonard Bundu, was this an IBF eliminator to be the mandatory? Went over to fight Kell Brook. I always got to give Kell Brook props because Kell Brook fought Golovkin at 160. Then the very next fight moved back down to 147 against people's wishes and odds, and put on a hell of a fight against Errol Spence, despite getting his other eye socket broken. Other one broken before by Golovkin. Lamont Peterson, you know, I was never really high on Lamont Peterson, but however, for him to, you know, have Lamont Peterson, did Lamont Peterson quit in the corner? Wasn't that controversy right there? IBF mandatory Carlos Ocampo. The Mikey Garcia fight was the one that is now the reason why he's now on pay-per-view, launched him into that next, you know, level of fighter, you know, to be on pay-per-view. He's been on pay-per-view since. I never really gave Mark Garcia a chance. However, just like Errol Spence was saying in this episode of PBC Countdown, a lot of fans were on that bullshit. You know, they were talking it, but hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. You see what I'm saying? That's life, you know? The Sean Porter fight. Now, to me, a classic. The build-up, PBC face-to-face fight camp, even the post-fight press conference was hilarious. Now, the Danny Garcia fight was the comeback fight. My personal opinion was like, yo, you know, Errol Spence don't want to get caught by no Danny Garcia shit. In fact, see, but they're going to talk about the car accident. It was his first fight back after the car accident. And what was that, October of 2019? And let me see here. When was the Danny Garcia fight? December, yeah, so he had 14 months off. It was his first fight back. You know, people were like, how was he going to, you know, include myself, wonder how he was going to, you know, deal with being hit in the face with the new teeth and the surgery and whatnot. But yo, he completely outclassed and outboxed Danny Garcia. And he had some pretty choice words regarding the fact of, you know, during this episode of if he was to lose to Danny, like, put it this way. What did he say? I need to get that quote. We're going to listen to that right now. We're going to take one more jump cut. Probably two more before the we end the video, and frankly talk about how does he lose to Manny Pacquiao at 5'9.5" listed at. I've met him in person, so I can say yeah, he's about 5'9", 5'10" or so. See, the jab is going to be key. Remember, they're both southpaws, so the southpaw advantage that Manny Pacquiao usually has will be taken away. However, Manny Pacquiao was said that, you know, him fighting the southpaw, you know, he knows how southpaw works. So he should have a better chance, you know, to be able to beat Errol Spence and have, you know, a good night against him. Last southpaw he fought was David Diaz, I believe. Let's go look at it real quick. And how long ago was that? 2008. Diaz brothers. We'll see, though. Let's take another jump cut.
In December of 2020, in front of a hometown crowd in Texas, Spence faced off with former two-division champion, Danny Swift Garcia.
Errol Spence could have come back to fight a lesser-name opponent to maybe get a comeback fight after this car crash. No, he wanted a top fighter in the welterweight division.
I didn't want a tune-up fighter, somebody I knew I could beat up. I wanted somebody that I know that I had to be 100% focused, had to train hard, and that was gonna bring the best out of me. I just knew if I couldn't beat Danny Garcia, then I just needed to retire.
I think Errol Spence is a young, strong guy who bounced back from this, and he had plenty of time to do it.
Some harsh words right there.
The accident. How is he gonna react when he takes that first solid punch to the chin? You know, what's gonna happen?
We're underway, round number 1.
And he took Danny Garcia to school. Let me pause this. So, looking at it, let's go ahead and break down the division really quickly. Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, August the 21st, PBC on Fox Pay-Per-View. $79.99. So far, there is no UK TV deal that I know of or we know of. Looking like it's not going to be on Sky Sports. Will BT pick it up or on pay-per-view? You know, maybe ITV, box, some type of what's going to go on with that. But I'm guessing we're going to have to hear something because the people in the UK has got to see it. Top Rank has now a Sky Sports deal, so you know. Terrence Crawford, WBO champion, is going to be hopefully, I was great to say it, and no, I don't know what I'm talking about. Hopefully, taking on Sean Porter sometime this, you know, late fall, winter. They are ordered to fight each other by the WBO. A purse bid has been ordered, and I'm hoping that that fight happens. Virgil Ortiz is taking on Aglidas Kavalaskis this upcoming weekend, August the 14th, on The Zone. I'm going to be covering that. Jamal James is right there. Maybe we can see Jamal James versus Mamata Stanonius, or maybe Jamal James versus Michael Fox. The controversy with the WBA this last weekend, just And there you have Manny Pacquiao right there. Manny Pacquiao is giving hints that he's going to be running for president for the Philippines. And he told Ray Flores at his media day, it wasn't a media workout, that he has to make a decision by this September. But he also hasn't ruled out if he wins or loses whether he's not going to fight again. I'm talking about in the ring and if he runs for president or not of the Philippines. So even though it's said that this can be his last fight, win or loss against Errol Spence, is not looking like Manny's too sure about that. So in my personal opinion, listen, I think, and I'm going to be here on fight night for you low downs going to be like, well, make sure you're here. I'm going to be here. All right. We're going to be here live streaming, you know, post fight, my video. It's going to be a good night. All right. But I think that Errol Spence can do two things. Either he's going to carry Manny and try to outbox him, you know, move around like, you know, Terrence Crawford fought Victor Postol those years back. You know, not wanting to take, you know, too many risks. You know, or if they decide to stand toe-to-toe at Manny's age, I'm concerned. The left hand is no myth, but I'm concerned. Valid concerns. You know, what if Manny gets really, really old overnight? This is the first time I seen Manny Pacquiao do a media day where he didn't do no shadow boxing or nothing. You know, shout out to PBC. You know, they pointed out that Manny Pacquiao, Freddie Roach has been saying Manny Pacquiao's been knocking, you know, fighters out in sparring. Do you notice we hear that every Manny Pacquiao fight, especially when it's a fight where he might lose? Well, he's knocking everybody out in sparring. And he has a lot of responsibilities. And a 2-year layoff, you know, it can go either way, as other fans have pointed out. And I'll be like, well, you know, these layoffs are good for Manny at his age. He's fresh. He's not taking these beatings, you know. And then it'll go the other way for a 42-year-old fighter. Father Time is undefeated. You know? These are legitimate concerns. I mean, yes, Manny Pacquiao has a Hall of Fame resume. You know, the greatest fighter, one of the greatest fighters of all time, definitely top 20, definitely top 15. You got to say that, right? I'm talking about of all time. But, bro, you know, the layoffs. And then when you really, 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 really look at it, if you want to be critical of Manny Pacquiao, if you want to be super critical, Lucas Matisse, people are going to say he's over the hill when he had his soul taken by Ruslan Provodnikov or John Molina. Which one got his soul? Well, John Molina definitely, you know, John Molina lost that fight. But, you know, wait a minute. Ruslan Provodnikov has Matisse's soul for eternity and look like he's not going to relinquish it. And John Molina Jr. has Ruslan Provodnikov's soul. And then Adrian Broner, well, look, he don't throw his hands. And then Keith Thurman had a question mark around him. People were like, yo, Keith Thurman, do he really have the hunger anymore? You know, also he's got a jelly belly. You know, he took his whole mouthpiece out. Valid concerns. Now, to be critical of Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, hey, love him to death, but come on, going into that fight before or after the accident, people were like, you know, Danny Garcia ain't really got no chance. Sean Porter, that was a very, very, very good fight. I can't say nothing about anything. That was a legitimate, listen, I can't say nothing about that. And then Mikey Garcia, well, Mikey Garcia, a 135-pounder, moving up to 147. Okay, yeah, he can compete at 140, but he moved. Basically, he was an underdog. Carlos Ocampo, okay, first round knockout. People were like, who was this guy? He was a mandatory. Lamont Peterson, you know, people thought he was on his last leg because Errol Spence should win. So if you want to be critical of both resumes, you know, realistically, right now, it depends on how you look at it. It's up for debate. If you want to go through the last three, he's got Thurman, Broner, Matisse. He's got Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia. Now take marketability and money out of it. Who's Errol Spence's best opponent out of these three? Sean Porter. Who's the best opponent out of these three? Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman did beat Sean Porter. But can you say right now, how do you feel about a Keith Thurman versus Sean Porter rematch? If that was to happen, who would you pick? I'm going to go ahead and pick Sean Porter. I don't think that Keith Thurman can go through that again or want to go through that again. And will be able to stop it this time. Just my personal opinion, of course. Make sure you take your time out, like the video, subscribe if you haven't. We're going to be doing half-hour Pacquiao. Well, actually, next week is fight week. So we're going to be here for the final press conference. We're going to be here for probably maybe even the grand arrivals. Likely not, because them shits, you never know when they're going to end. You'll be here streaming for 4 hours. So we're definitely going to be streaming the final press conference. We're going to be streaming the weigh-in. We're going to be here for the post-fight press conference, fight day stream, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be busy. I'm happy to be back. Let's see. We already talked about the undercard, Yordenis Ugás. You know what? Let's pull him up real quick. You know, let you know what's going on with these guys. Yordenis Ugás, WBA Super World Champion after being elevated. I already talked about that at the beginning of the video. 26-4 with 12 KOs. Last fight against Abel Ramos. And then I remember, like, where the hell did they pull Mike Dallas Jr. from? The Omar Figueroa fight, I didn't expect for him to dominate like that. And then the Sean Porter fight, where a lot of people thought that Sean Porter didn't win, but Ugás didn't do enough to beat the champ, if you know that term. He's going to be taking on the brother of Marcos Maidana, Fabián Maidana, who, for fuck's sakes, is not even ranked. And he's getting a Super World shot. Here, I'll just show you who he is really quickly. Fabián Maidana. The brother of Marcos El Chino Maidana, 18-1 with 13 KOs. You kind of can see they got that same facial bone structure and that thing going on. And do you know any of these people? I know Klimov, but I don't Johan Perez. But outside of that, yeah, there you go. There you go. And then you have Robert the Ghost Guerrero taking on Víctor Ortiz, both former Mayweather victims. That's going to be a crazy fight. Looking forward to that one. And with an undercard like this, I mean, with the fact that Manny Pacquiao is guaranteed at least 10 million, maybe 20, we don't know. We don't know what the purses are. Errol Spence commands a lot of money. So I didn't expect for the undercard to be really, you know, like something special. You see what I'm saying? But for them to be able to, I think they may owe Al Heyman some money. Víctor Ortiz, Robert Guerrero. So he's like, you guys, you get in there now. You're fighting. You know, that's crazy. But I'm looking forward to it. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe, and TstreeT Controversy with 5v360.com.